Okay, this word problem says that Matthew is 3 times as old as Jenny. In 7 years, he will be twice as old as she will be then. And we need to know how old each is now. In other words, we need to know Matthew's age now, and we're going to use the letter M for that. And I'm going to use different colors also. So for Matthew's age, we'll use a blue. And we also want to know Jenny's age now. And we'll use, let's say, whatever, pink maybe. And we'll use J for Jenny's age. So the other thing it says is that we have to write 2 equations. And we're going to use substitution. We're going to replace um, one of the variables in one of the equations. But we need to write both equations first. So the first equation that I'm going to write, I'll use two more colors here. Let's use green to represent this first equation. Let me blow it up a bit here. This first equation we're going to get by using this sentence. Matthew is 3 times as old as Jenny. Remember we said we're going to use M for Matthew. So instead of saying Matthew is, we want to write M equals. Matthew is. And then 3 times as old as Jenny would be 3J. By the way, I like to make my numbers larger than my letters so that if we get a letter that, in this case, but if we have a letter like S, we don't want it to look like a 5. So that's our first equation. I'm gonna surround that with a green. So when we talk about it, we'll call it the green equation. Let's use maybe red for the next equation that we're about to write. And that's going to come from this sentence. In 7 years, they're talking about Matt will be twice as old as Jenny will be then. So here's what I want you to write. By the way, make sure you write that first equation down. Now we need to write another equation that I have in red here. And it says, I'm going to paraphrase it. It says in 7 years, Matthew will be twice as old as Jenny will be in 7 years. It doesn't say exactly that. Like I said, I paraphrased it. So first, let's write an expression for Matthew's age in 7 years and an expression for Jenny's age in 7 years. Matthew's age in 7 years is going to be M plus 7. And I think I'm going to write that on the bottom in a minute. And I'm going to put an equal sign here, even though they're not equals just yet. Jenny's age in 7 years will be J plus 7. J plus 7. Now, they're not equal, but it says that in 7 years, let me just write that there. This is Matthew's age in 7 years. And this part you don't have to write. Matthew's age in 7 years. And this will be Jenny's age in 7 years. Jenny's age in 7 years. Like I said, they're not equal. In fact, it says that Matthew is going to be twice as old. So to show that and to make this equation true, if he's twice as old, his age in 7 years will be twice Jenny's age. So we need to multiply Jenny's age by 2. So that'll be the second equation. I'm now going to erase that little phrase, those 2 little phrases that I put there. Get rid of those. And then we'll be able to deal with both equations. Okay. And we'll call that second equation the red equation. Maybe I think I'm also going to move the equal sign just a bit, make it a little neater. Okay. Okay. So So that'll be our red equation, because I got it from that sentence that I circled with red. All right, so we now have two equations like the problem said, like our instruction said. Remember we said we have to write, I said we have to also write two equations, so we just did that. Now we're going to replace or substitute. So what we've said in the green box is that M is the same thing as 3J. Let me kind of highlight that for a second here. Right here, I know it says equals, but equals means it's the same. M is the same thing as 3J. And that means whenever we see the letter M, we could write 3J instead. Well, guess what? We see an M right here. So that equation that's in the red box, I'm going to write it again. In fact, I'm going to write it right now. And after I do, I'm going to erase the M and replace it with 3J. Let me just write it down really quick first. It's the same thing I wrote before. Equals, and let me distribute while I'm at it. This will give us 2 times J, 2J, and 2 times 7 is 14. Okay. Now, let me do what I said just a second ago. I'm going to erase the M and replace it with 3J. Let me erase that and replace it with 3J. Now, this equation doesn't really look any, well, maybe a little bit longer, but it's actually easier because this equation that I just wrote only has one letter. It only has a J. The equation in the green box had an M and a J, and so did the equation in the red box. It had an M and it had a J. And so when we only have one variable, one letter, it's going to be a lot easier to deal with. Okay. So let's simplify what we have now. I could make just a little more room here by doing that, I think. We'll be able to have more room to write it. Okay, so there's more than one way we could do this. What I'm going to do is subtract 2J from both sides. And we don't have to do that first, but I want to get my J's all on one side. I'm going to subtract 2J from this side. I'm going to subtract 2J from that side. That's going to give me, it's a J. That's going to give me 1J. We don't need to write the 1. These will simplify. That'll give me J plus 7 is equal to 14. And now we're going to solve for J since I've added 7, since they've added 7, we want to do the inverse and we want to subtract 7 from both sides of the equation. And if we do that, these two will simplify, and we'll get J is equal to 14 minus 7, which is 7. Now I'm going to kind of highlight that with blue. I'm sorry, with pink, because up here we said that Jenny's age, or J, is well, I said it is pink. Okay, so that's the pink part of our answer right there, or one of our solutions, I should say, part of our solution. Now what we get to do is go back to either one of these. Didn't work out what I wanted to. Well, I erased just that. Darn it. Either one of these original equations, the red one or the green one, the one in the red box or the one in the green box. Now, my suggestion here is think about that for a second, and I'm going to pause for a minute. Think about which one would be easier to work with, the equation in the red box or the equation, I'm going to point to them here, the equation in the red box or the equation in the green box. I'm talking about these two right here. All right, think about which one would probably be easier. So yeah, we could use either one. We could use the red box. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write what's in the red box again over here on the side. We could have also used the green box. 2 times J plus 7, except now remember that we just said that whenever we see J, oops, I want to do pink here. Whenever we see J, there's J, we want to replace it, right, with 7. Okay, so let me do that. Let me erase the J and replace it with a 7, or substitute is the technical word. If I erase that and put a 7 there, doesn't really matter if I use a different color or not. Then I'm going to have that M plus 7 is equal to 2, and I'm going to call that 14. Okay. Well, 2 times 14 is 28. So M plus 7 is equal to 28. And since they have added 7, we want to subtract 7 from both sides. We subtract 7 from both sides. We'll now get the M by itself, and M is equal to 28 minus 7 is 21. I'm going to highlight that with blue because that's what we said. You don't have to use colors, but that's what we said was going to be Matt's age. Remember we set it up here on the top? So those are our two, and I don't remember which order the boxes were in or the blanks were in, but you want to make sure you put the J next to Jenny's age, the 7, sorry, and the M is 21, so put the 21 next to Matt's age when you write those answers in the box.